This is a recording for the conference paper on exploring the impact of group video creation in multicultural students in the online platform. This presentation is for Innovation Arabia 2022. The author of this presentation is Ajrina Hysaj, myself, and I work in the University of Wollongong in Dubai. The agenda of the presentation starts obviously with the overview, which is this one, and then a brief explanation on the literature review that exists for group work in the online platform. Obviously understanding the gap, where's the gap between the the individual work and the group work in the online platform, the research objectives of this specific study, the methodology that the study used, the findings of the study, and obviously the conclusion and the references. Let's continue. So, introduction. This current study is about exploring ways of evaluating and applying learning theories in the digital learning platform, or DLE. Digital learning platform or digital learning environment. The focus was to increase the students' active participation in the online platform, and obviously with the ultimate goal of improving students' academic performance. Now, the active engagement, students' active engagement is generally an issue that might occur in our classrooms and more so in the online platform. So the utilization of the tools that the online platform provides to us effectively, it's very important for it's very important for the classroom management and obviously for the active engagement of students, which is substantially connected with the students' performance. Obviously, just like in the classroom, the aim of the online platform should be the inclusiveness of students and the consideration of the different aspects that support students' learning. Now, for this specific study, the focus was in cognitivism and socio-constructivism, learning theories. Now, according to cognitivism, as human beings, we build on the knowledge that has been, the knowledge that we have previously accumulated, and we eventually utilize the previous knowledge. However, when it comes to socio-constructivism, we are relying on the mixed knowledge of different people, and obviously we are relying on on the mixed environments that this knowledge has been accumulated on. Obviously, this whole thing has to take in attention the andragogical aspect associated with learning theories. In other ways, there are obviously a lot of similarities between the ways the children learn and the adults learn. However, the focus of this study was on how the adults learn, because the students that participated in the study were all undergraduate students, which meant students that were over 18 years of age. Now, multicultural students. According to the last, to one of the research of Banks and Banks 2019, the multicultural education has to take into consideration the idea or the concept of multiculturalism, and obviously it has to provide some, to a certain degree, a reform movement that again takes into consideration multiculturalism and the presence of multicultures and multilingual environments. And obviously it's a process, it doesn't end, it starts and it continues as the year progresses, in our case in higher education, or in life as the life goes on. Now, there were four things that were analyzed specifically in the literature review, and the first of them being the reasons why multicultural students study in foreign lands in the first place. Another reason that was explored, another focus of the research was the exploration of new cultures. So basically, what are the effects that the exploration of new cultures have on the individual students? Obviously, the cognitivism and socio-constructivism go hand in hand with enhancing approaches of thinking and performing tasks. So the group work had this focus. And the last is the cross-cultural improvement and the improvement of self-confidence. So the group work took into consideration two aspects, the individual work and the group work. And obviously the self-confidence is part of individual work. However, the cross-cultural skills and even the approaches of thinking and performing tasks were seen as both, as an individual and group work. Now, the active engagement is substantial for our students, and the four areas that were considered for this specific study were increasing inclusiveness in online environment, introduction of new cultures in the online environment, the ability to change and shape academic principles of multicultural students, which is substantial in our classes, and of course promoting the open culture of active engagement in the online platform. Now, issues faced by multicultural students are some of the issues that were analyzed in the study are the lack of the language barriers in the communication gap, the academic writing and reading techniques, and obviously speaking, the lack of understanding of how to communicate in the online platform, which adds into the lack of understanding how to communicate in the face-to-face platform, the technical difficulties which are present may be present in the online platform, the lack of social support. In other words, the social setting of students is different, it's changed. They are already placed in multicultural classrooms. And obviously, for quite a few of them, is the lack of physical learning environment, which was again analyzed. Now, the most important thing of creating inclusiveness and having active engagement is the sense of identity. And the sense of identity of multicultural students was analyzed from these six angles. So one of them being the unawareness of institutional culture. So it's a new environment, there are new stakeholders, new players. Obviously the inappropriate time management, when you are not aware of how different something is, then obviously you're not aware of how difficult it may be to complete the task. Obviously, it could be the lack of interest to develop online learning abilities. In other words, people are used to the physical presence. Some students may lack the technical skills to create videos because the focus of this research was video creation in a group, in groups. The inability to communicate effectively in the online platform, obviously being one of them. And the most difficult one, which was pointed out by most students, was the disconnection between teachers and students, or some sort of disconnection between students themselves. So these were the worries that the students had. So the focus was then to understand the gap. Obviously, the understanding of the gap, as I mentioned, started from the factors which were intrinsic or extrinsic motivators, the academic performance, and then eventually the institutional reputation. So these were three angles that came out from the literature. So the research questions were then, what are the curriculum adaptations needed in the online platform? Because obviously everything that works in face-to-face does not work in the online platform. So the curriculum needs to be adapted. The impact of video creation in the DLA itself, and the impact of video creation in the students themselves, and obviously the factors that the external and internal factors that influence multicultural students' active engagement in the DLE. The external factors are very substantial in the DLE environment because obviously students are outside a physical zone of learning. So the methodology was well, the methodology was a mixed method approach. The participation was 25 students, which were put in groups of twos or threes to create group videos on cultures. Students brainstorm ideas in breakout sessions, and the division of them in groups was done into considering two factors. One, it was the students had to speak different languages, and they shouldn't be they shouldn't speak the same mother tongue. And the other one was that one or two students from the group had knowledge on how to create, how to use the technological tools like Miro Map for the brainstorm session and the breakout sessions. The focus of the breakout sessions was reasons why culture is important, the comfort language with language of instruction, the level of communication, level of understanding between students, and ultimately the academic performance when working in groups. So students worked in groups, worked in breakout sessions to brainstorm ideas, to complete their videos. Then they had the video creation in Google Docs, and after that they wrote reflective tasks on the discussion section on their experiences in video creation and the group. So the study findings. Well, the findings were interesting. They were mixed, but they were interesting. Around 60% of students were academically and personally satisfied with working in multicultural groups and enjoyed the negotiation process, which was very interesting. 50% of students highlighted the need for implementing multicultural group work in discipline-related subjects, which is again very interesting finding. The most significant showed that 70% of the students were able to submit their work on time, which was brilliant, and wrote well thought and appropriate organized reflective tasks, which showed that they were satisfied with their involvement in the sessions, and they were satisfied with the process as a whole. And obviously, the effect may have been that the cognitive load was spread between them, and the socio-constructive method of learning and collaborating worked. Um, More study findings were that 80% of them were satisfied with discussing their individual cultures, so their own identity with other students and reflecting on the process itself. And obviously the reflective tasks were a representation of their well-thought understanding of the working group and work between cultures. Some more findings were that obviously students that were intrinsically motivated were more able to accept other people's ideas, and they were more towards differing ideas. And the very positive thing is that the cognitive and socio-constructivism set of skills were both improved during the process, and this was something that was shown in the discussion sections, which basically were the reflective tasks. Obviously, the consequences were that institutions are consequences of group work for video creation is the increased reputation of institutions and improved skills and knowledge of students, individual and group knowledge, and increased dependence on individual individual experiences and group experiences. So as conclusion, online teaching and learning provides an array of tools, collaborative tools, which are very substantial to be analyzed to support our multicultural students. And obviously the findings of this study have implication for universities and policymakers to take proactive measures which encourage active learning and active engagement in the online platform and enhance the learning platform as a whole. This is a list of references, and that was my presentation for the Innovation Arabia. If you have any questions, you may go ahead. Thank you.